Hey guys, how's it going? Steph Davis here from flipthiswholesaler.net. Today I am bringing you parts 2 and parts 3 of my explanation on how to fill out the free wholesaling contracts that I'm giving away on my blog. The last video I talked about how to fill out the purchase and sale agreement. Today I'm going to talk about how to fill out and when to use the assignment of contract agreement and the option to purchase agreement. So first I'm going to start with the assignment of contract agreement. This is what you're going to use if you're marketing to private sellers. When you're wholesaling and you put a property under contract with a private seller, you can just 9 times out of 10, unless it states in your contract that you can't assign the contract, you can just put it under contract with the seller and then assign your contract to your end buyer using this assignment of contract agreement. You're not going to be able to do this. I've mentioned this before, but if you're dealing with bank-owned properties, you're not going to be able to assign the contract in most cases. So this is mainly for dealing with private sellers. So in this, the agreement that I have that I'm giving away, it's very simple. It's just one page. It's pretty straightforward. The first line, it says, in consideration of the sum of, and then the first blank is for your assignment fee, and that's going to be what your profit is. So say you're putting the property under contract with the seller for $50,000, and then your end buyer, you're selling it to your end buyer for $55,000. So your fee is going to be $5,000. So that's what you're going to put in that first line there is $5,000, or your assignment fee. And then the second line is for the assignor. You are the assignor. So you're going to put your name in there or your company name, however you want to do it. And then the second blank is for the assignee, and your end buyer is going to be the assignee. So that's whose name is going to go in that blank. And then underneath that, it's just asking for the contract date of the contract that you have with the seller. So whatever the date is on the contract that you have with the seller, you're going to put that in there. And then it says between blank and blank. That's going to be whatever two names, the buyer and the seller, that's on the contract with the purchase and sale contract that you have with the seller. So you're going to put your name there, or your company name, and the seller's name or their company name as it appears on that purchase and sale contract. And then it says, concerning the property located at blank, that is going to be the property address, obviously. Then if we skip down to close to the bottom, that's Lucky, by the way. Hey, Lucky. It says closing shall take place no later than blank, and that is going to be whatever day that you have in the purchase and sale contract with the seller. Whatever the closing date is on there, you're going to fill that in here. And then it says the assignee has given a non-refundable deposit of blank. The assignee, again, is your end buyer, so that's the blank there for how much they're giving you as a non-refundable deposit. I recommend getting $2,000. You want them to have some skin in the game. You definitely want to get a deposit of some sort from them. And it says to be held in escrow at blank. I prefer to have it held at my title company, but if they want to have it held at their title company, that's fine too. Just make sure if they're not giving it to you, make sure that, if they say they're going to drop it off at your title company or at their title company, just make sure that you call and verify, not with them, but with the title company or their attorney or whatever, just to verify that the funds are actually there. I got burned early on. One of my first deals where someone told me that I was signing the contract to them, and they told me, yeah, I'll deposit this at Pure Title. That's the title company that I was using, and then I just took their word for it, and they never dropped the deposit off. And then that's about it. On the second page, it's just for you to sign and date, and for your end buyer to sign and date. So once you get this assignment of contract signed, you're going to want to give a copy to your end buyer, and then send a copy over to your title company because they're going to need that. And then, let's see, we'll move on to the option to purchase agreement. This is used, you can use it in several different, or for several different circumstances. Number one, and I did this a lot when I was just getting started, if I was negotiating a deal with a seller and I didn't really have, well, when I was first getting started, I just didn't really have a grasp or a handle on what a good deal was and what a good deal wasn't. So if I was negotiating with the seller, a lot of times, we would get to a price and I wasn't for certain that I could actually find an end buyer for it. I didn't have a big buyer's list built up. And as I mentioned before, I don't really like putting someone's property under contract, telling them I'm going to close on it, and then doing the, put an inspection period in there, look for the buyer, and then back out if I can't find a buyer using my inspection period. I personally don't like to do that. So what I did was I would just put it under option. And what that accomplishes is it gives you an equitable interest in the property, which it means it allows you to market the deal. And I would just tell the seller up front, look, these numbers, at this price, I can't buy it myself. The numbers don't work for me. However, I might have one of the investors that I work with, I might be able to find a buyer for you. And then I would just let them keep marketing the property if they, market for their own buyer if they wanted to. That way I'm not tying up their house. And then if I did find an end buyer, I would go ahead and execute a purchase and sale contract with the seller, between myself and the seller, and then assign it to my end buyer. So the other time when I will use an option is if I'm wholesaling other wholesalers' deals. I'm not licensed, so I am not supposed to be, you're legally not supposed to be bringing a buyer and a seller together and getting paid for it. It's considered brokering without a license. So if you put a deal, instead put the deal under option, and then that gives you an equitable interest, and that allows you to market the, be able to market the property for an end buyer. So same thing with, if I'm marketing another wholesaler's deal and I find an end buyer, I would just go ahead and put it under contract with the, once I found an end buyer, I would execute a purchase and sale contract with the wholesaler and then just assign that contract to my end buyer. So we'll just run through how to fill this out. On the first line is for the optionor. That's going to be the seller. So the seller's name is going to go there. The second blank is for the optionee. That's going to be you. And then for consideration in the amount of blank, that's going to be the option consideration, or what you're giving the seller or the other wholesaler to option their property. My recommendation, or what I like to do, is $1. The cheaper the better. If they don't go for $1, try 10. If that doesn't work, try 100. But and then let's see. After that is the you're just going to put the property address in there, and then the purchase price. And then after that just says when the option agreement starts and when it ends. You can, try and get the option for as long as you want to, 30 days, 60 days, whatever. There's really no risk to the seller in this scenario or in this situation if you're using an option. They're able to market the property still to find a buyer of their own. So really you're kind of marketing their deal for them at no cost to them. So, there really should be no objections from them if you want to get a 30-day or a 60-day or whatever option. So, but that's just negotiable, whatever you negotiate with the seller. So let's see, then we skip down here and there's just a blank to say who's going to be paying all the closing costs. Can either put the buyer or the seller in there, however you negotiate that. I always like to, when I'm buying, have the seller pay all the closing costs, and when I'm selling, have the buyer pay all the closing costs. But that's, again, it's all negotiable, and if you want to split it up so that you're paying part and they're paying part, you can just go in and edit that and change it to however you want to. And then it just says at the end there that the option or the seller understands that you're acting as a principal in the transaction, and you're not working as a real estate broker representing anyone other than yourself. So then you're just both going to sign and date it. And that's about it. Again, both of these are pretty simple contracts. They're pretty straightforward. And you guys, like I said in the last video with the purchase and sale agreement, I'm not an attorney, so I'm just explaining to you how I fill out my contracts. You're definitely going to want to consult with your own attorney before you use these or any real estate contracts. So if I left anything out, or if I left you with some questions, feel free to leave a comment, and I'll be happy to answer them for you. And I guess that's it. I'll see you guys next time. Take care. Bye-bye.